Item Number SCP-2214. Index Economy of Scale. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. The entrance to SCP-2214 is to remain locked at all times. Iron bars are fitted across all windows of SCP-2214 to prevent the entry of foreign objects. Foundation agents are to guard the apartments immediately adjacent, as well as above and below SCP-2214 under the guise of residents of the building. Interaction with SCP-2214-1 through -1288 is forbidden under any circumstances. Any personnel seeking to enter SCP-2214 for purposes of research or documentation must first receive express written permission from an on-site supervisor of Level 3 or higher security clearance. Foundation personnel may only incorporate outside objects into SCP-2214 with the permission of a supervisor of Level 4 or higher security clearance. Description: SCP-2214 is a 40 square meter apartment located in Okrug, Moscow. The layout of SCP-2214 is consistent with late Soviet-era standards for single-resident apartments and differs in no significant way from that of other units in the building. SCP-2214 contains 1,288 objects. SCP-2214-1 through SCP-2214-1288, mostly typical belongings for a late Soviet-era apartment. The primary exception is SCP-2214-1280, the remains of Konstantin Baranov, former resident of SCP-2214. Any object that remains in SCP-2214 for 72 hours or more will be incorporated into SCP-2214. Once incorporated, it becomes physically impossible to remove an object from SCP-2214. Note: SCP-2214-1282 through -1288, consisting of a ballpoint pen, a paperclip, and 5 steel ball bearings, were all introduced during initial testing of SCP-2214 by GRU-P personnel. SCP-2214-1 through SCP-2214-1288 change orientation and relative position to one another in response to changes in macroeconomic conditions of the former Soviet Union. Each object is representative of a single macroeconomic factor, although the sheer number of SCP objects has made interpreting the movements of SCP-2214-1 through 1284 effectively impossible. However, Foundation researchers have made some progress in connecting the movement of objects with macroeconomic conditions. See Addendum 2214-W-78-091 for a partial list. Note: the Soviet Union included the Russian Federation, Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Podlojistan, Uzbekistan, the Kyrgyz Republic, and Tajikistan. Manually changing the position of SCP-2214-1 through -1228 affects changes in the economy of the former Soviet Union. The typical delay between the movement of an object and the economic changes that it affects is 3 days. Addendum 2214-W-78-091. Number 018. Object: notebook filled with clippings of recipes from Pravda. Economic factor: natural gas output of Turkmenistan. Number 261. Object: apple wax. Economic factor: inflation rate in Belarus. Number 588. Object: soap bar wrapped. Economic factor: trade balance between Ukraine and Greece. Number 993. Object: fork leftmost tine bent. Economic factor: Outmigration of laborers from Azerbaijan. Number 1280. Object: remains of Konstantin Baranov. Economic factor: economic output of Omsk Oblast, Russian Federation. Number 1281. Object: cigarette butt believed to have been dropped by initial GRU-P containment team. Economic factor: demand for sugar in Gorno-Badakhshan, Tajikistan. Number 1285. Object: steel ball bearing. Economic factor: price of crude oil in Estonia. Level 4 or higher security clearance necessary to view full list. Discovery log. The anomalous nature of SCP-2214 was discovered on October 17, 1990, when the superintendent of the building housing SCP-2214 entered SCP-2214 to investigate complaints about an odor emanating from the apartment. Previously, tenants had complained about persistent noises from the apartment of Mr. Baranov, a deputy assistant sub-director at the Soviet State Planning Committee Gosplan. Upon entering SCP-2214, Mr. found plates flying everywhere and ghosts moving furniture. In addition, Mr. located the remains of Mr. Baranov, who appeared to have been killed when a dresser fell on top of him, crushing him. It was estimated that Mr. Baranov had been deceased roughly a week by the time of discovery. Note: dresser later discovered to be affected by the state-mandated price for Uzbek cotton. Calls from Mr. to the Moscow police were intercepted by agents of the GRU-P, who arrived on the scene and successfully secured the area. Mr. was detained and dosed with a Class R amnestic. In 1992, with the integration of several elements of the former GRU-P, the Foundation gained custody of SCP-2214.